said, if he performed mama with one and then mama with the other, they require two bills of divorce and chalitza. Mama with one and then a bill of divorce to the other. She requires a bill of divorce and chalitza. Mama with one and then he cohabitated with the other. They require two bills of divorce and chalitza. Chalitza, mama with one and then he performed chalitza with the other. The first one requires a bill of divorce. If he gave a bill of divorce to one and then a bill of divorce to the other, they require chalitza from him. A bill of divorce to one and then he cohabitated with the other, she requires a bill of divorce and chalitza. A bill of divorce to one and then mama with the other, she requires a bill of divorce and chalitza. A bill of divorce to one and then chalitza to the other, there is nothing after chalitza. Now my question is this. Oh, I can't see. Wait a second. Okay. The question is this. When they say, we know that one of the ways to be married to someone is through having relations.
Right.
When he says, let me see if I can find right here. Then he cohabitated with her.
Right.
Now, does this mean in just he decided to have this, let's have a little affair over here, or is it just a matter of that he wanted to marry her? Or
even if he was doing it al das to do yibum, in this case it's a bilas zenos.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, and we will see that's a machlokes between Chacham and Rabbi Nehemiah. Rabbi Nehemiah says we can separate between the two on the Doraisa level. It worked. Therefore we don't need a chalitza anymore.
Right.
Where the Chachamim are saying no, it's completely bilasnos. It's not for yibum.
Once he cohabitates with her, not in terms of yibum, but once he cohabitates with her, then she needs a bill of divorce because she's really married.
If she is really married, yes, that's correct.
She would have been if she cohabitated.
Right. So therefore, which is why, hang on, get the bal. It's zo tzricha get the chalitza. Right. So the one that he had relations with needs a get.
Right.
Because at least Chachamim are choshesh for the fact that this on a doraisa level is a marriage.
Right. Okay. Right. So, okay. Hey, if he performed chalitza and then performed chalitza, or he performed chalitza and then mamar, or he gave a bill of divorce or cohabitated, or if he cohabitated and then cohabitated, or he cohabitated and then performed mamar, or gave a bill of divorce or performed chalitza, there is nothing after chalitza. It is the same whether he was one yavam with two yavamos or two yavam with one yama. If he performed chalitza and then performed mamar, or he gave a bill of divorce and cohabitated, or if he cohabitated and then performed mamar, or gave a bill of divorce or performed chalitza, there is nothing after chalitza, whether at the beginning or in the middle or at the end. However, in the case of cohabitation, when it is at the beginning, there is nothing after it. But when it is in the middle or at the end, there is something after it. The Yevamos says whether it is cohabitation or chalitza, and whether it is at the beginning or the middle or the end, there is nothing after it. Okay.
So Rabbi Nehemiah's opinion, as we just explained, is that he completely bifurcates between the Darabana level and the Doraisa level. So it's fine. Okay, if you have a beila which was after, let's say, a get, then okay, but then nonetheless it was valid marriage, and therefore he must divorce her because it was a bilas nos. He still has to divorce her, but that's it. He doesn't need to give a chalitza anymore because all the requirements have been satisfied.
Right, he gave the get to that day. All right.
Okay. Whereas the Chachamim say that they also need the chalitza because it was an invalid beer. Okay. Perek Vav. Haba al Yevim Tov. So now one who has relations with his Yevama. Now this is just going back to the regular case where his brother's widow has come to him for Yibum, and he has relations with her in order to, well, we'll say he doesn't even have to have kavanah, as we'll see. If he has relations with his yibama, bein b'shogeg, bein b'meizid, whether it was accidental or conscious, bein b'ones, bein b'ratzon, whether he was forced or did so willingly. Afilu hu shogeg v'hi mezida, im hu mezid v'hi shogeges. If one of the two parties is not a conscious participant, hu anos v'hi lo anosa, hi anosa v'lo hu anos. One of them is forced, and the other one is not. Echad hame'are echad gomer, even if somebody has only partial intercourse, kana, this is it's nonetheless considered a kinyan. So what we see over here is that he didn't even need conscious intention to be kone his yavama. It could be that he was forced. Right? It could be that he thought he was having relations with his own wife, and it turns out that it was his yavama in the room. Right? And nonetheless, he's had relations with her. It was kone. He didn't. Okay.
Right.
So this, by the way, is actually, now that we were talking about a minute ago, did he have was the bilas zanus? Is the bias zanus nonetheless on some level is okay? It was nonetheless a bias on a woman who was eligible to be on a deraisa level to be his brother, which is why the Chacham still require him to give her a get. They didn't say the bilas zanus it was worth nothing. It was a bilas zanus, but you were kone. So now you must give her a divorce and a chalitza, just to make sure that you know that everyone knows that this is not the way to do things. Okay. And now, and the last phrase, v'lo chalach bein bia lebia, and there's no distinction made between natural intercourse and not so natural intercourse, which basically means anal sex. So it's both methods are considered a valid acquisition. Okay. The same rule applies for any of the forbidden relationships, right? How is somebody, when you want to judge if somebody is chayiv kares for a mazid, or chayiv vachatas for a shogeg, or whether he can be lashed if he was warned, or if for some of the arais he can be executed if he was warned. Okay, so all of these cases, what defines having relationships with a woman? Or pesulos kigon almana lekohen gadol, also for having relations with not just an erva, but for a woman who's puzzled to, like a kohen to a kohen gadol to an almana, grusha v'chalot lekohen hediot, mamzeres nasin al Yisrael, bas Yisrael mamzer nasin pasal. In the case of a Bas Yisrael who had relations with somebody that she was asked to have to be married to, for example, if a Bas Yisrael has relations with a mamzer, then she's pasul l'kuhuna. So all of the definition that we saw in Mishna Aleph is all of this applies to pasul her for kuhuna. So even if it was shogeg, ones, whatever. The chalak ben bi'labia, natural or unnatural intercourse, all the same. Almana lechoin gadol. Now, grusha v'chalutz lechoin hediot. So now, what happens if you have an isur kedusha over here, where a widow is married to a kohen gadol, or a divorcee or a chalutz is married to a regular kohen? Now, what happens if it's min ha'erusin? As soon as this woman is engaged, has had kiddushin done. So when she's done her kiddushin, lo yechlu b'tshuma. These women are not allowed to eat truma, even though they are technically married to a kohen, and they therefore should be allowed to eat truma. They are not. These ones are not, because it's an illegal marriage.
Right.
Okay. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon machshirin, but Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say no, that's not true, because the issur of being with the kohen is actually living with him, and since she is still in the erusin, she hasn't been to the chuppah yet, so therefore they haven't had relations yet, and therefore they haven't done any issur, and therefore technically she's the wife of a kohen who's allowed to eat truma, so that she hasn't had any asa relations yet.
Right. Okay.
Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi okay, so we said they machshir. Nis'armelu and nisdarshin. Now, what happens if they are widowed or divorced at this point? Mina nisuin. So, if this was from marriage, from the chuppah pesulos, which means that they would they become chalalos. So let's say if these women were bas kohen to start off with, So a Bas Kohen is allowed to eat truma in her father's house. Okay. Now, as soon as if she marries Yisrael, then she's not allowed to eat truma anymore. And if she has children, then of course then she stays in that status of Yisrael. But if she is divorced or widowed without any children, then she can go back to her father's house. Okay. So assuming she has no children, and she's now a divorcee, and she married a Kohen. Okay. Now the Kohen died or divorced her. Can she go back to her father's house and eat truma again? That's the question that we're dealing with over here. Okay, so she's a Bas Kohen who was divorced, so she shouldn't be allowed to marry a Kohen again. But now she married the Kohen, and now the Kohen divorced her or died. If she had gone to the chuppah, then she's a divorcee who's had relations with the Kohen. She's not allowed to eat truma anymore. Okay, mina erusin kasheros. However, if she never lived with him, then she never did any chet, and therefore she is still allowed to go back to her father's house and eat truma again.
Because the first one is an illegal marriage.
It's an illegal marriage, but it's nonetheless a binding marriage.
Right.
Okay. Fine. Let's go and do Chazara. Just by the way, I may get a call to leave a little early today.
Okay.
But let's see how quickly we can get through the Chazaras.
Okay. We are in Gila.
No, still Yevamos. Yeah, Yevamos Gimel Vav.
Oh, we always have. Sorry, I went too fast. Okay. Gimel Vav. If there were three brothers and two of them were married to two sisters, while one was married to a stranger, if the husband of one of the sisters died and the one married to the stranger married his wife and then died, the first one is discharged as his wife's sister, the second as her co-wife. If he performed mama with her and then died, the stranger requires chalitza and may not be taken in yibum. If there were three brothers and two of them were married to two sisters, while one was married to a stranger, if one married to the stranger died and the husband of one of the sisters married his wife and then died, the first one is discharged as his wife's sister and the second as her co-wife. If he performed mama with her and then died, the stranger requires chalitza, but may not be taken in yibum. If there were three brothers and two of them were married to two sisters, while one were married to a stranger, if the husband of one of the sisters died and the one married to the stranger married his wife, and the wife of the second one died and then the one married to the stranger died, she is forbidden to him forever, since she was once forbidden to him. If there were three brothers and two of them were married to two sisters, while one was married to a stranger, if the husband of one of the sisters divorced his wife, and then the one who was married to the stranger died, and the divorced brother married her, and then died, about this it was said that if any of them died or were divorced, the co-wives are permitted. If any of them had been subject of a question of betrothal or divorce, the co-wives require chalitza, but may not be taken in yibum. How is it that betrothal was in question? If he threw the betrothal to her, and there was a doubt whether she was closer to him or closer to her, this is a question of betrothal. How is that the divorce was in question? He wrote a bill of divorce in his own hand, but without witnesses, or without witnesses, but with witnesses and without a date, or with a date that was only with one witness. This is a questionable divorce.
Okay.
Ila. Aleph Yud. There is no difference between the laws pertaining to a major bama and those pertaining to a lesser bama, except as regards the Pesach sacrifice. This is the general rule. Any sacrifice which is a vow offering or a gift offering may be brought on a bama, but any sacrifice that is not a vow offering or gift offering may not be brought on a bama. There is no difference between the laws pertaining to the tabernacle of Shiloh and those pertaining to the temple in Yerushalayim, except that in Shiloh, one was permitted to eat kadoshim kalim and second tithes anywhere within sight of Shiloh. But in Yerushalayim, one was only permitted to do so within the walls. Both here and there, kadoshim were permitted to be eaten only within the curtains. After the sanctity of Shiloh, bamas were permitted, but after the sanctification of Yerushalayim, bamas were not permitted. If someone said, read the Megillah out of sequence, he has not fulfilled his obligation.
Wait.
Did I skip?
Surgeon. Right. Sorry, you're right. Beg your pardon. Go ahead.
If someone read the Megillah out of sequence, he has not fulfilled his obligation. If he read it by heart, or if he read it in Targum or in any other language, he has not fulfilled his obligation. However, we may read it for those who speak a foreign language and in a foreign language. One who speaks a foreign language and heard it read in Hebrew that was written in Assyrian script has fulfilled his obligation. If one read it, Adkan, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Okay, Shkalim Dalet Aleph.
What did they do with the truma? With it, they would purchase daily offerings, additional offerings, and then a sachar, the omer, the 2 loaves, and the pan of bread, and all of the public offerings. Those who watch over the aftergrowth of the Shemitah year receive their wages from the funds withdrawn from the treasury chamber. And Rabbi Yossi says also, one wishing to may volunteer as an unsalaried watchman. They replied to him, you two admit that they must come from public assets. The red cow, the he-goat, which is sent to Azazel, and the strip of red wool are purchased with funds withdrawn from the treasury chamber. The ram for the transport of the red cow, the ram for the transport of the he-goat, which is sent to Azazel, and the strip of wool, which is tied between its horns, and the water canal, the waters of the city and its towers, and all the needs of the city are funded from the remainder of the treasury chamber. Abishol says the Kohanim Gedolim built the ram for the transport of the red cow from their own funds. What did they do with the surplus of the remainder of the treasury chamber? With it, they would purchase wines, oils, and fine flour, which they would subsequently resell, and the profits accruing to the temple. These are the words of Rabbi Yisrael. The Rebbe Akiva says investments may not be made with that which belongs to the temple, nor with funds collected for the poor.
Okay.
Trying to move you along, so
Okay.
All right, Shavias, Dalet Aleph. At first they said a man may gather wool and stones and herbs from his own, just as he may gather from his neighbors, the large ones. When the number of transgressions increased, they decreed that one should gather from the other, not as a favor, nor needless to say, stipulating the allocation of food. A field which was cleared of thistles may be sown in the 8th year. One which was improved or one used as a cattle fold may not be sown in its 8th year. A field which was improved, Beis Shammai says, where one may not eat its fruit in the 7th year, but Beis Hillel says one may eat. Beis Shammai says one may not eat the fruit of the 7th year as a favor. Beis Hillel says one may eat it whether or not he regards it as a favor. And Rabbi Yehuda says turn it around. This is one of the leniencies of Beis Shammai and the stringencies of Beis Hillel. Newly plowed land may be rented from a non-Jew in the 7th year, but not from the Jew. And one may encourage non-Jews in the 7th year, but not Jews, and one greets them for the sake of peace.
Okay.
Okay, we have Caleb, Kaf Daled Ches.
Yeah.
There are 3 beds. A bed that is designed for lying on is susceptible to becoming tameh with midrash tumah. A bed of glass manufacturers is susceptible to becoming tameh with corpse tumah, and the bed of net makers is tahor from any form of tumah. There are 3 mashpelas containers. A mashpelas container for manure is susceptible to becoming tameh with midrash tumah, and one used for straw is susceptible to becoming tameh with corpse tumah, and a puklat of camels is tahor from any form of tumah. There are 3 mats. A mat designed for sitting on when one is susceptible to becoming tameh with midrash tumah, and a mat of dyers is susceptible to becoming tameh with corpse tumah, and the mat of presses is tahor from any form of tumah. Okay. We have Shavuos.
Yeah.
Okay, Aleph Bet. Whenever there is an awareness in the beginning and awareness at the end and unawareness in between, he is liable to a variable sin offering. If there was awareness in the beginning, but there was no awareness in the end, the he-goat, which is sacrificed inside, and Yom Kippur suspend punishment until he becomes aware of it and brings a variable sin offering. If there was no awareness in the beginning, but there was awareness at the end, the he-goat, which is sacrificed outside in Yom Kippur, atone, as it is said, aside from the sin offering of the atonement, for what this one atones, just as the inner one atones only for the case in which there were awareness, so the outer one atones only for a case in which there was awareness. For one in which there was no awareness beginning at the end, beginning or at the end, the he goats of the festival and the he goats of Rosh Chodesh atone. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says the he goats of the festival atone, but not the he goats of Rosh Chodesh. And for what do the he goats of Rosh Chodesh atone? For a person who is tahor, who ate a sacrifice which was tameh. Rabbi Meir says the atonement of all the he goats is alike for the tumah of the temple and its holy things. Rabbi Shimon was one to say the he goats of Rosh Chodesh atone for a period who is tahor. Atone for a person who is tahor, who ate a sacrifice that is tameh. Those are the festivals atone for one who had no awareness, either the beginning or the end, and the one of Yom Kippur atones for one who had no awareness at the beginning but had awareness at the end. They said to him, may one be sacrificed for another? He replied, they may be sacrificed. They said to him, since the atonement is not alike, how can they be sacrificed one for another? And he said to them, all of them come to atone for the tumah of the temple and its holy things.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy. I'll speak tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank you. Bye.
Hashem.